So can you introduce yourself and your dealership?
Always Auto. Josh Letsis. I've been in the franchise world for, all my entire career. I'm not even going to count that high. It's getting close to 30 years at this point. And we just opened up an independent lot in February.
So let's talk about challenges you faced with lead follow-up prior to TECOBI. You've had TECOBI for most of the time you've had this dealership, but you have worked in other dealerships without TECOBI and a traditional CRM. What kind of challenges do you face in a traditional CRM?
Oh my God. So when I interview people too, I definitely talk about this. And as a manager, right, it was always, hey, go get your planner, go do this, go do that. And so you're sending emails, you're making phone calls, and we all know 80 some odd % of the people don't answer their phones. It's having you do some busy work on unengaged people. And then what happens is you'll get an engaged customer and then you follow up with them for 2 or 3 days. And the lead that you took 2 or 3 days ago that's not responding to you, it just gets, shit canned, for lack of a better term. You just stop following up with it because as a salesperson, you want to follow up with the person that's in front of you. So these leads, if they're not responsive or hot in the first few days, I don't care what any salesperson says, you're not following up with a lead past 7 or 10 days. You're just not doing it. And so what'll happen, let's say you're an internet salesperson or a regular salesperson, and let's say you get 100 leads for math's sake, and you sell 20 cars, 80 stay in the system. And, granted, there's been some dupes and bought elsewhere, et cetera, but 80 stay in the system. Next month, you get 100 leads. You sell 20, another 80 in the system. So you see what it is. It just compounds. And at some point, and it's not very long, it's impossible for you to do your follow-up at a quality level. You're going to follow up with the people who are following up with you, and that's about it. So it's very, very difficult. We wanted to run super lean and have a smaller sales staff that was able to do things. And it's funny, I had a guy, it's just last week, we just hired him a couple months ago. He came from a group here in town and he was like, man, this is amazing. Like literally, and as managers, we're super involved in the follow-up as well, because TECOBI's, and you've seen our numbers, TECOBI's are up on our screen and we're banging out follow-up. The customer doesn't know if it's the salesperson doing it or if it's me as the manager doing the follow-up. They just know that they're getting followed up with. And so this salesperson was like, he goes, this is unbelievable. I was off yesterday. You guys followed up with 30 of my customers, set 2 appointments. I'm out here right now on a demo drive. You followed up with another one of my customers. Actually, I think it was the robot in that case, and set an appointment. He's like, this is unreal. At a normal dealership, when you're off, your follow-up's not getting done. When you're out on a demo drive, your follow-up's not getting done. So you almost get penalized for being busy. If you're out there selling 20 or 25 cars, how much follow-up can you possibly be doing? It's amazing. And so when I tell guys, if you've never been, experienced this before, or if you've been in a regular traditional dealership with a regular traditional CRM, this is going to blow your mind, because the amount of follow-up that's done at scale between the robot, who's gotten super smart, by the way, and between managers, what we're doing, it's insane. It's absolutely insane.
We all know that a dealer that doesn't use TECOBI knows that the follow-up's not getting done. In that world, what was your method of trying to solve that? What would you do on a regular basis to try and solve that in a traditional CRM when you knew that the follow-up needed to be done, but it wasn't getting done? And
you manage the planner, right? But then the problem is, at some point, the salespeople are just clicking buttons because they don't have time to do the amount of follow-up that's in the planner. It's impossible. Right. So they're going to get you off their ass by just, all right, boss, yeah, planner looks good. You know what I mean? That's all that they're doing. And it's funny, I had a conversation because I think we're over 1,000 leads already this month. And I was talking to somebody who wants to do BDC for me. And I'm not quite there yet, but I'm getting really close. And, she was telling me, she goes, well, if you have 1,000 leads with 6 salespeople, stuff's slipping through the cracks. Yeah. And I said, I'll be honest with you, I'd be naive if I told you that something didn't slip through the cracks. But what I do know is if I had a traditional CRM, the amount of shit that was going to slip through the cracks would be 10 times, because this robot, if I let something slip through the cracks, or I don't put it in the right status, or I don't pause it appropriately, the robot's going to follow up with them. And sometimes it makes me look like a jackass because I didn't put them in the right status. But you know what? That customer's back engaged now. I go, oh, shoot, I need to do this. I need to do that. It's unbelievable. We've gotten really good at the pause, and I use that primarily as a reminder. We got a lot of cars going through the shop because we're way backed up because our sales rate, we just opened, and I went out and bought 100 cars and told my 4 or 5 technicians, all right, get 100 cars done. As our shop's gotten more efficient, our sales pace has gotten even more efficient. So they're outpacing the shop. So it's a problem, but still a good problem. So we're constantly checking on cars going through the shop. And I'll tell Mrs. Jones, yeah, I'll check on that car. I'm hoping it'll be done Tuesday. Well, today's Wednesday. I'm going to forget about it by lunchtime, frankly. But I put a pause in it for Tuesday morning. Hey, Mrs. Jones, I'm going to go check on that car. She responds back, okay. I get the alert, go, oh shit, I forgot to check on Mrs. Jones' car. I go back and check on her car now. So the tools that we use it for, it's insane. And there's no way to do it with a traditional CRM. Impossible.
Yeah. And so what made you decide to give TECOBI a try when you started your dealership? Because you never really used it this way at the previous dealerships you were at.
No, being a GM and a partner, I wasn't this involved in the CRM. I managed the managers who managed the CRM.
Right.
And for this, I wanted to touch every lead if I could. I wanted to talk to every customer if I could. I mean, it was pretty shortly after we opened that we, and it might've been even really close to simultaneously that we got on TECOBI. And what I like about it is because I'm deeply involved in every lead, I try and shake every customer's hand and I can see everything that's on there. If I'm, my home's in Colorado, the store's in Texas. My wife would probably say I live in Texas and visit Colorado at this point. But when I'm home, I can sit there and work leads, talk to my guys, customer wants out the door numbers. I'm in, VIN printing the, the sales menu, throwing it as a screenshot in there, so the sales guy's like, oh, I got to go get out the door. Let me go talk to my sales. Oh, wait, Josh already did it. I can work as if I'm sitting in the chair from anywhere. And it allows me to scale my time. I send 100+ text messages a day. I'm trying to get better at phone calls. And that's, I think, one area where we get a little lazy because the robot is so good and we're so text heavy that we get a little lazy with the phone calls. So I've been trying to show my guys, hey, at a minimum, let's make the first phone call. And then once we're good there, let's, step that up. Because that's the one area where sometimes we forget is people buy cars from people.
Yep.
And I ask my team, how many salesmen do you think a customer wants to deal with? And they'll say one. I say, no, 0 really, but they're going to have to deal with one. So if we can establish a personal connection with them, that's really good. So that's where personalized videos and a phone call is going to be a big deal. And then we're text heavy. But once we become their guy or their gal, that voice and that, video, hey, Mrs. Jones, here's that car you looked at, things like that can make just a tremendous difference. So we're trying to.
You're using the video component inside of TECOBI to text message videos to customers. Cool. Awesome. Yep. Were you skeptical at first
of TECOBI? No, I've been on, since really close to the beginning, right? So I've seen the evolution. And for me, it was a no-brainer. We obviously had a little bit of pushback at Foundation when I was with Foundation. Right. And then even at Elway, I think we had a manager that was, a little hesitant. And then it was me and one other guy. My buddy John was my manager here when we first started. When I first started TECOBI, he was in VIN and he's doing all this and that because that was what he was familiar with. And I'm like, bro, forget about it. So he would have both windows up. I'm going to look in TECOBI, I'm going to update VIN, and I'm going to stop. Nothing in VIN. Like the only thing we use VIN solutions for is the pencil. My VIN rep used to call me. He goes, hey, you guys aren't really doing your follow-up. And I'm like, yeah, pound sand. You know what I mean? Yeah. We're doing follow-up, trust me. But that's the only thing I use them for. So getting him and going, okay, literally TECOBI is our CRM. So watching that evolution from being an advertising platform to being, just a texting platform to now it's our CRM. It's all of our follow-up, emails, text messages, phone calls, all go through TECOBI. We do 0 follow-up through VIN solutions. We wouldn't be where we're at. I wouldn't be able to survive without TECOBI.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest parts for dealers is letting go of, the old way that VIN Solutions works. And there's nothing against VIN Solutions. It solved a problem when we went from paper to keeping track of things in the computer. But we have to come to the realization that the salespeople just cannot do the number of tasks that a traditional CRM is requiring them to do. And when you come to TECOBI and the AI does the task, you feel like you still have to manage your salespeople to do these tasks, but you really don't. Dude, because the AI is going to do the task.
It's gotten so good. I'm telling you, there's times now where I pull it up, I'll look at every lead from the previous day, and then I jump into TECOBI and I see how's the follow-up? Is it appropriate? Did we forget to do something that we told the customer we were going to do? Blah, 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 blah. And I'll look at some of these responses and I'll see the customer says this. And I said, okay, here's what I would say. And the robot said exactly what I would say. I go, okay, well, shit. All right, next lead. It's pretty intense. Here's a great example. we had a customer who said, and I may get this wrong a little bit, but the gist of it was, I have surgery on Tuesday, so I won't be able to buy the car, follow, whatever it was. The robot sent a text message out on Wednesday and said, I hope you're feeling better from your surgery. And I'm just like, gosh darn, how great is that? So it's, it's gotten really good.
I literally just had a new client that signed up, and he was in there monitoring everything like you are. Because obviously when you sign up, you want to make sure everything's going smoothly. And he sends us a screenshot of a message that got sent. And he's like, if I was a customer and I was told this and not paid attention to, I would never buy a car here. I thought it was going to be more intuitive. And when we looked at the message, it was actually a message from his salesperson. He just did not look underneath the message to see that it wasn't the robot, that it was actually the salesperson. And I always make the statement that the AI is not perfect, but boy, it's better than most salespeople when it comes to paying attention and reading conversations.
And there's a few things that it just, it can't, circumstantially or whatever. But when the customer, they'll get confused and they're like, what are you talking about? I like it because then it pops back up to the top of my list. And, sometimes we'll say it's an AI bot. I try not to, because I think some people might feel stupid if they just had full-on conversations with an AI bot. But it'll be like, oh, shoot, meant to send that message to somebody else or whatever. But what it does, it pops that person back to my forefront. It gets them engaged if they weren't engaged. I personally, there's been, I don't even think one time where I'm like, man, this was like I can't recover from this, is bad. It cost me a deal. No, I don't think one time. Check this out. So we're going over, first thing this morning, we're going over all of our appointments for the day. We've got 8 appointments today. So-and-so is coming in at 3:00. Who's a salesperson? And he goes, oh, it's unassigned. And so we look at the lead. The fucking robot did all of the follow-up, set the appointment. Everything. And we go, okay, all right. Well, whoever ups this guy's got a free car deal. So it was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it is moving quite a few customers to the point of an appointment and getting them to show up with no salesperson involvement. I would say it's probably 60% of the way there right now. Maybe in the next 2 to 3 years, you won't have to have a salesperson involved prior to the customer going into the dealership.
It's just so intuitive now, and it's it's amazing. It's really it's amazing.
And what features and aspects of TECOBI stand out to you the most?
Yeah, so the pause, I really like that one. And I talked to my guys. We got a little lazy with statuses. The key for us is the customer's got to be in the right status, and pause or not pause, whatever. Otherwise, that's the only time that the robot may get a little off track, because it just doesn't. If you leave it in fresh and it's a negative equity or a bad credit, or, I told you I'm going to follow up with you in 3 days, and then the robot follows up with them 2 hours later, and they're like, wait a sec. So that's the only time. So we've gotten really good at statuses. Almost too good. I told them, hang on, maybe a pause might be appropriate for 2 weeks or 3 weeks before you jump them into that not interested status or whatever. But those statuses and the pauses, we live and die by them.
Yeah, you really have to. And that's probably the biggest thing.
It's the superpower of TECOBI.
It is. And that's the biggest challenge with new clients coming on. So any new client seeing this that happen to see this on Facebook, you've got to use the pause, and you have to use the statuses correctly, because if you don't, then the AI doesn't know what to do. I call it hybrid intelligence. It takes both human and AI working together to make it flow seamlessly. How does this platform compare to solutions you've used in the past? Because you've used actually one of my copycats that is no longer around.
Yeah, they were terrible.
Yeah,
so bad. They had one where AI or whatever was trying to talk to a customer, trying to set the appointment, and the guy must have told the AI 4 times, I live in San Antonio, I can't come down at 3:45 or 4:15. What you've done with TECOBI, and from the evolution of it, you've really gotten it to the point where if you buy in as a management team, there's nothing else like it. There's nothing.
Yeah, there's not. I think everyone's trying to step around the CRM because they're afraid to go after the CRM. It's a difficult thing for me to sell a dealer that, hey, something you've invested 20 years in doing is outdated. So I think most of the other AI systems, what they're trying to do is just say, oh, we'll attach to the CRM and make it sound super easy because they want the easy sell. It's a fundamental change in the way that we communicate with customers, not just on the artificial intelligence side, but also on the text message side, which raises a lot of, nuances with how long it takes to get a customer to respond back to you. And, they have more control in the conversation than they would in a phone conversation. And you know this better than anyone because you had a training platform for phone calls. In text message land, it's a much different sales process that you have to utilize. You have to be more flexible with the customer. And I know you're big on giving out as much information as possible and transparency with the customers. And that's really the future we're moving towards. And we can see it in your numbers because you're doing really well for a dealership that's in their first year. We see it in the numbers that customers are embracing your openness and willingness to communicate with them digitally, as opposed to forcing them on a phone and making them talk on a phone uncomfortably with a salesperson.
People will be a little more forthright with you via text, which is good, like on the phone or in person. If I'm not giving them enough for their trade, humans in general don't want to be offensive, most humans. So they may say, well, let me go home and think about it. And if we can't suck that real objection out, it's the trade value, whatever. Via text, they'll tell you, no, I want 24 grand for my trade. They can just be more upfront with you. And we work, 90% of my customers, when they walk in the door, already know the out the door, their payment, whatever it is, like they're pre-approved, everything. I have zero intention of changing that. Obviously we go for the appointment first, but a lot of our deals, we've got everything done and it's incredible. The only people that we're talking to are people who are engaged. And that's where the efficiency really comes in. We've got 1,000 leads, but maybe 300 of them are engaged, or I pull it up and look at the numbers. But what we're not doing is spending time talking to those 600 or 700 leads that aren't engaged because the robot is trying to engage them. So I'm not wasting my salesperson's time doing a bunch of work for somebody that, we know what the numbers are. A lot of these leads will never be engaged. So rather than having one of my sales guys make 150 phone calls and do this and emails and work as planner, it's just not efficient. And if you want to get better, it's all about efficiency. You've got to become more efficient. We talk about efficiency in our shop all the time, but rarely are we talking about efficiency with our sales staff. And it's the same thing. We're only talking to people who are talking back to us, which is just, it's incredible.
I think most dealerships, what they've grown to do is just blame the sales staff for being not doing their job. In reality, I think most salespeople in the car business work hard. I traveled for a whole year and I went to hundreds of dealerships in 2018. And when I first started traveling, I thought it was lazy salespeople. I honestly, being a vendor my whole life, I was like, these lazy sales guys, why can't they sell anything? Then I got out to the dealerships and I was like, man, these guys are busting their butts. Like as a vendor, they worked harder than I did. And I was like, man,
they had them on the wrong tasks, doing the wrong things, and we were managing the wrong things.
And then cracking the whip on their back, telling them they're not doing a good job. And the reality is it's truly the process and the software that is too cumbersome for a ADHD salesperson like us to sit down and do this repetitive task work and not get anything from it, and call those 700 unengaged leads that aren't actually talking to us on the phone. When you give them the engagement, these guys will work their tails off. I mean, they want the engagement. So I do think that you kind of hit the nail on the head with the fact that it's about efficiency. I don't think we think about efficiency on the sales floor enough, and we just tend to blame the people. It's like, let's just blame the people. But the reality is the people
got to work harder. That's the answer.
Got to work harder. Just got to work harder is the answer. And that's not truly the answer. So what do you personally like most about working with TECOBI?
One of the things that I really like is how responsive you and your team are to suggestions. Misty, can we do this? And then next thing you know, boom, it's there, and the fact that you guys listen to your dealer body and listen to the suggestions and then implement it best you can or as quick as you can. Obviously every situation is unique. Some of them are, a little more in depth, but for the most part, it's been really cool because I can't call up the Coxes of the world and go, hey, can you change your system because it doesn't do this for me, versus with you guys, you can, and you guys will look at it and go, yeah, fuck, that's a pretty good idea. Let's change it.
TECOBI's kind of built itself with the clients and listening to the clients and paying attention to what dealers need and solving their problems. And that kind of leads into my next question is, how would you describe our customer support?
Amazing. I mean, literally, I wonder if you ever give Misty any time off. And anytime I send a message to support or to Aaron or whoever, like, I'm like, gosh darn, like, you guys, you can respond to me in the morning. What is going on here? Because I work, I feel like I work 24 hours a day, but the support's, it's lights out. It is a level of support that you cannot get from any other vendor, especially not the big ones. I think a lot of frustrations come in with the Coxes and the E-leads, and it's like, man, I got zero support.
Yeah, and I'm going to take a shameless plug here and say, go check our Google reviews. We are the highest rated automotive vendor in the car business. Just Google TECOBI reviews, read through some of those reviews. I don't do fake reviews. They're all real reviews from users of our software because our support is top notch. You're not going to find someone with better support. And ironically, we use TECOBI to manage that. We are not a very large team. We're just very lean and efficient. We use TECOBI, and sometimes it's me responding, sometimes it's Misty, sometimes it's Aaron. But to the dealer, they're just getting a response and they're getting things handled. We service dealers in every time zone, and we're able to cater to them. And part of that is the fact that I come in here and I sit here and grind out 12 hours a day side by side with my team, and leadership is a big part of getting the team to work hard, which is why you're having success at your dealership, because I see you sitting there grinding out phone calls and sending text messages all day too. If you had to sum up TECOBI in one word or phrase, what would it be?
Oh man, time saver. The amount of work that we do with a couple of managers and 6 salespeople is insane. It's a way to scale your time. And I think we all wish we could squeeze a few more hours into every single day. I know I do, and not have to worry about things slipping through the cracks, and it scales your time. And I think everybody, every manager, every owner, every GM in the car business wishes we could scale our time and our salespeople's time. It's like tripling your sales force.
I think the salespeople's time is pretty crucial there, because when you're only selling 8 or 10 cars a month, it's tough to keep salespeople around because they're just not making a bunch of money. And you really got to get those salespeople to where they're selling 15, 20, 25 cars. And then you'll end up with salespeople that stay with you for years and decades and don't ever want to leave.
My guys too. I said, honestly, we're going to get to the point where if you sell 20 cars in a month, we're going to sit down and go, not high five. We're going to sit down and go, man, what happened to you last month? And more than just, I think, selling cars to make the money, but it's also selling cars to stay busy. When they're selling 8, 10 cars a month, money aside, 8, 10 cars and you're working 25 days or, 20.
You got a lot of time to look for another job.
Yeah. So we're keeping them busy and we're keeping them happy, and, the customers get followed up with. And, we're just now at the point where the bot is starting to do some bot elsewhere follow-up.
Yeah.
One of the follow-ups I did yesterday was the customer was like, said, I didn't buy my car from you. And I jumped in and said, yeah, no, I know you bought whatever it was, Nissan, from somebody else, but I just wanted to let you know our service department's open and we've got 6 technicians, and, I still want to get your service business. So that's not getting done in a regular store, and not only that, I guarantee you, her salesperson she bought her car from isn't even following up with her. And now I am.
When they need it serviced or when they want to trade it, you're going to be top of mind. The dealership I'm a partner in, we're in 3.5 years. So we're starting to really see the snowball. And you take like Mac Hike Chevy's been a client of ours for 5 years now. And when they started on TECOBI, they were 40th in the nation and they finished 4th last year in Chevrolet. And I can't take complete credit for that, but we're a good part of it. And it just snowballs. The longer you follow up with your leads and the more follow up the AI is doing and the more leads that are in there to follow up with, the more cars everyone's selling. And it's not requiring everyone to do this massive amount of manual labor that the CRMs would require. What would you say to another dealership considering TECOBI?
You got to try it first off. And then second off, you got to get buy-in. It doesn't work without managers buy-in because it's different. And they've got to understand that it's going to be a paradigm shift from what they're used to. Once you're in it and once you're bought in and you go in head first, it's, like I said, we don't use Vin Solutions as a CRM at all anymore. We do all of our follow-up, all of our phone calls. We can see everything. We live and breathe into TECOBI. And once you immerse yourself into TECOBI, there's no way I could ever go back to a traditional, no way I could ever go back to a traditional CRM.
And we do have pencils, and I'm currently working on the desking solution. Don't think that I forgot about you. It's coming soon.
The day that's live and running is the day I cancel Vin Solutions. That's the only thing I use them for, is to pencil a cardio.
And that's coming very soon. So get ready.
It's a very expensive pencil. I could probably get rid of them, and there's some cheaper pencil tools out there. But at that point, we would have zero reason to use anything other than TECOBI.